Welcome to the What's So Smart podcast, powered by the Huntsville Madison County Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, Clark Dunn. Huntsville, Alabama is known as a smart place, but really, what's so smart about it? In this podcast, we will talk to the leaders of Huntsville's economic and cultural development to answer that question. From rockets to genomics, from cyber to music, What's So Smart will explore the visionary and data-driven initiatives that make Huntsville so smart. Stay connected with us on all your social media platforms at A Smart Place. You can watch the full conversations on our YouTube channel at Huntsville, Alabama, USA, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this episode of the What's So Smart podcast. Welcome to the What's So Smart podcast, powered by the Huntsville Madison County Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, Clark Dunn. Today, I have the opportunity to sit down with Kathy Martin, a city engineer for the city of Huntsville. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so before we kind of dive into the work you do for the city of Huntsville, talk a little bit about your background and kind of when you first came to Huntsville and kind of your experiences up until now working for the city.
Yeah, so I've actually been with the city of Huntsville for about 30 years, working with the city of Huntsville Engineering Department. Actually, I'm a native to Huntsville, I consider it, because I came here when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
So, originally I'm from Vietnam. So 5 years old, we came over here after the war ended. My dad was a POW. We were given an opportunity to go to Australia or right here in Huntsville, Alabama, and he chose Huntsville, Alabama, and we've been here ever since.
Wow. And so you've seen Huntsville obviously grow throughout the years of being here, and kind of as you've been able to be a part of it too with the city of Huntsville. What's it like being an engineer for a city full of engineers?
I consider it very fortunate because engineers, as you know, are problem solvers.
Yes.
And they are quick to offer solutions and ideas. And the good side of that, though, too, is they're very logical. So, you would think it would be difficult, but we get a lot of good input when we seek, community involvement meetings and things like that. But, I do find that even if we have differing opinions, if we can just explain those to folks, more than likely we can come to an agreement to where even though they may not agree with it, they understand it, because I think that's the mentality of engineers.
Yeah. And I mean, did you ever have an itch to kind of move away from Huntsville, or as you kind of went through school, did you always thought you were going to live here and kind of, plant your roots here in Huntsville?
My parents have a big part to do with all that. Obviously, like I said, we came here for a reason. I have two sisters, and when my parents, got ready to send us to college, they said, you've got to become an engineer so you can all move back to Huntsville and be near us.
Yeah.
And so his plan has worked.
Yeah.
Both my sisters are also engineers. One's on the arsenal and the other's an electrical engineer. And so, bringing us back home was always the intent. And like I said, I've been with the city of Huntsville for 30 years. And so, I think, just seeing the amazing things that have happened here, the growth and how it's changed, there's no other place that I would rather be.
Yeah. And so I know that, obviously Huntsville's continuing to grow. That growth kind of probably plays a big role in the work that you're doing. Is there, over your course, in your time here working for the city of Huntsville, is there a project or is there something that you've been able to work on here in Huntsville that you just really enjoyed that maybe stands out among the rest?
Oh, there's so many. There really is. Like I said, Cecil Ashburn was also, one of those that are very, very exciting. There was a lot of public involvement involved, but also a lot of input from the folks that live over in the Hampton Cove area, knowing that that's only two routes that bring people in and out of our town from the east. We had some bright ideas like tunneling through the mountain or building something that, swings out over, the mountain to create, an iconic bridge in Huntsville. So things like that, very good ideas. We all considered, different types of projects. One of the things that I first did when I became city engineer was think there was, some talk about a cave system under downtown Huntsville.
Yeah.
And so the media actually wanted to do some interviews with the mayor, in the cave. And so as a city engineer, I got to go down there.
Wow.
And I can tell you that was quite the experience. We brought the cave and rescue team with us, and we started on Green Street and made it all the way through downtown and came out at Big Spring Park. So an opportunity like that I probably would have never been able to do had I not been in this position.
Yeah. And as a Huntsville native myself, that would be an incredible thing to do.
It was amazing.
That's I think you hear about things like that. You hear about the cave, you hear about all of that stuff, but to actually, be able to do it and be able to go underneath that's amazing. So I know Mayor Battle often says that Huntsville wants to be the best, not the biggest. How does that kind of play into the work you're doing as Huntsville over the last, 5-6 years has really kind of is booming and everyone's moving here, and probably makes your job even harder as you're trying to plan for this as the city growth too?
Well, I think Mayor Battles made it very clear, like you said, that, our goal is not to be the biggest, it is to be the best. And that's, the best in providing opportunities for our citizens here, whether it be in quality of life or transportation system, job opportunities. And I think being the biggest really is just a natural progression as a result of being the best. And so, I think, communicating that clearly and working towards that common goal has had an impact in how you've seen the growth in Huntsville
Yeah,
happen.
and I think too, like to be this the kind of city that we are today is years of preparation ahead of time, and I think you can't build the kind of city we are today if you haven't put the groundwork in years prior. And I would assume from the work you've been able to do with the city of Huntsville over your 30-year career that some of the stuff you were doing early on is probably
Still in fruition.
yeah, it's still
Yes,
working on
it
today, and it's still
is.
kind of developing into new iterations. Is there like as Huntsville's grown and more small businesses, more restaurants, more things have come, is there like is if you were to go out and you were to explore Huntsville on a weekend yourself, is there places that you love visiting or that you love enjoying here in the city?
Yeah. So, just because we had such a part in redevelopment of the Madison Square Mall area, what Mid City and the Orion Amphitheater has turned into is definitely a destination now. And that's very rewarding to see, because again, it goes back to, seeing the growth of Huntsville and recognizing that that corridor needed some help and reinvesting in, a blighted area to create that economic drive, I think was very rewarding. So, going to the Orion and Mid City every
Yeah.
chance I get. So.
Yeah, it's been fun. We had Matt Mandrella on and talking about the music audit here and everything that's coming, and the Orion plays a huge part in that. And I think that's also playing a huge part in many other areas, and just the infrastructure that the city of Huntsville is kind of working on developing and making everything smooth. As we're recording this, you just recently moved into the new City Hall building. Talk a little bit about that transition, as now everyone for the city of Huntsville is kind of almost in one building now instead of separated prior to your career.
So it has been a change. We moved in about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
There's definitely pros and cons. Like I said, we were located with building inspection and natural resources and EMA over in a separate building from the city hall, but we had a lot of contact with our legal department as well as our planning department. And so you would actually see our staff, pushing carts of plans down the sidewalk
Wow.
to be able to communicate effectively with the team that we work with daily. So being on the same floor, not just in the same building now, has absolutely been very, efficient on how
Yeah.
we.
And you probably see a variety of people that you probably never have seen before. I didn't know that they'd
Absolutely.
been there, and their career has
Yes.
probably been just as long as yours. You're like, I never knew you
Yes,
worked here.
yes, run to a lot of people in the elevator and people's daughters now. I hate to
Wow.
say it that I didn't know worked here, but they'll say, "You don't remember me? I met you 30 years ago," or whatever. And
Wow.
so, but yeah, it's absolutely a brand new building. So, our building that we were in was the old Huntsville Public Library, which, maybe 70, 80 years old, who
Wow.
knows? And so, I joke with people that, yeah, the conference rooms, the bathrooms are really nice compared to what we had. So just little things like
Yeah.
that, brand new. So it's been very nice.
From your perspective and your experiences here
Mhm.
in Huntsville, what do you think makes Huntsville such a smart place?
It's definitely got to be the people and the businesses we have here. I mean, as you know, it's almost the education centers that we have. We have 6 colleges here. The cyber school is here. You've got Redstone Arsenal and Cummings Research Park and all the support that they bring. So I think the people and the businesses that we have really help craft a future generation of very smart people.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, I would assume over your time here in Huntsville, even prior to working for the city of Huntsville, you probably had some unique experiences. Is there a unique experience that maybe stands out among the rest, either from like a work perspective or just enjoying Huntsville as a native?
Yeah. So I guess, unique to Huntsville, which in my career, from my perspective, our Restore Our Roads program that the mayor initiated with AlDOT years ago, I think that was a huge learning experience for me because I was fairly new at the time as well. But, for a city to offer to pay 50% on state roadways, and bring that to the table was unprecedented. And, I do remember that summer he campaigned along the state highways,
Wow.
to try to get some initiative, for the state to participate in that. So I think when you say uniquely Huntsville, that's taught me a lot in what I do, just because it shows that, we don't give up, and we understand the importance of teamwork and what it takes to be successful, because even if it's not our responsibility, we still have to share in that responsibility if we're all going to succeed. And so, I think that experience, having, seen how the mayor and our leadership handled that has showed me that that's the Huntsville, way.
Yeah.
Is to never give up, always find a way to succeed, but then also help others, to make sure that we all succeed together.
Yeah, and I think as Huntsville's growing, it's still very difficult to go out and not see someone and like I think everyone there's still that tight-knit community aspect of Huntsville, even at the size that we are. As we're recording this and we're in May, what are you looking forward to with the work you're doing at the City of Huntsville for the rest of this year? Is there projects that are in the works or future projects, even going into 2025?
Well, you mentioned that a lot of the projects we do take decades,
Yes.
if not, to come to fruition. And the Northern Bypass that's currently under construction that goes from the North Parkway to tie to the current Research Park Boulevard. I think that's going to be a significant, project for our community. It's going to help traffic congestion and how we move around to get, from the north side of Huntsville all the way out to the west or directly to Redstone Arsenal. So I think that project, to see it come to fruition finally, is very impactful. There's some other projects that we, again, you ask why I'm still here after 30 years, our interchange downtown, at the Parkway and the interstate is something that is near and dear to our heart. I mean, it's the heartbeat of our city, and to hopefully see that one take fruition, even though it'll take years to see construction, just to try to get it started, I think is very important to me as well. So again, just things like that kind of keep you around and keep you motivated and just wanting to see Huntsville succeed and grow the way that it should.
Yeah, and it seems like you've had an incredible part in making Huntsville succeed over your course of your 30 years.
A very small part.
at the City of Huntsville. But I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today and a little bit about kind of the work you do for the City of Huntsville and some of the projects you're excited about. We'll have any information in the episode notes for anyone that's listening that wants to find out more. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the What's So Smart podcast. Stay connected with us on all your social media platforms at A Smart Place. You can watch the full conversations on our YouTube channel at Huntsville, Alabama, USA, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed hearing more about what makes Huntsville so smart.